Is this doubling of market cap just by dint of the market's gone nuts? Or have you actually done anything that contributed towards that?
Part of it's the market, and they're looking at who's close to production, right? And there's not a lot of companies like the Gowest. I mean, there's lots doing a lot of exploring. Our focus has always been to get this bulk sample and get underground and generate cash flow.
What does success look like? What do you need that data to tell you to go, this has been successful? Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. That just helps us to understand if this is the sort of company that you want us to spend time on for you. You can also leave your comments below. That helps us understand the sorts of questions you would like us to be asking, how you think we're doing, and of course, what you thought of Gowest Gold. You can also catch this as a podcast, transcription, or article on cruxinvestor.com. And for our Crux Investor Club members, of course, you get early access to this video along with other services. You can also click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, you can catch more videos like this one if you click the notification bell. We spoke earlier today to Greg Romain, who's the CEO of Gowest Gold. We caught up with them in April, kind of went through their corporate structuring and some gruesome details. So we'll put a link below to that. You can go there and sort of check out what the history, what they've been doing, the problems and challenges that they've faced. But today we get an update from Greg with regards to financing and the bulk sampling project, which is coming up end of Q3, beginning of Q4, which is going to inform what they do next year. He also gives us some clues about potential of some JV partnering and some financing, which may go on. Look in the description below at some of the other topics discussed. Anything interests you in particular, click on the number beside the topic. That's called a timestamp, and that leaps you to that part of the video. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy what Greg has to say. Greg, how are you doing, sir?
Not bad. How are you, Matthew?
Okay, sweltering, 35 degrees here, no AC, but we're going to do this thing. I may not make it to the end, so it might be quicker than normal. How are you? Where are you?
I'm at the office in Toronto. We've been in the office for the last month or so. We come in a couple times a week. Again, it's pretty slow downtown, right? There's not a lot of action, and you can't meet various bankers and that. So all that's done over Zoom. So, but we like to come in as a team. There's a few of us and sit down and see each other face to face. We find it a little easier, and it's good to try to get back in that normal groove.
Okay, well, we caught up in April. Okay, and at the time I thought, okay, the asset's good. I think there's some corporate issues you needed to tidy up. So I wanted to catch up because I couldn't help notice when the guys pointed out your share price has doubled, market cap, doubled. It's a really bullish gold environment, and I wanted to see where you're at. But first of all, for people new to this story, give us that 1 minute overview, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Sure. Gowest Gold is a TSX-V listed company. Our project is in Timmins. It's a gold project. We have a 1.2 million ounce resource. We've done over 2 kilometers of underground development, and we're getting ready to process our bulk sample beginning towards the end of the third quarter.
Okay, great. Well, like I said, we did catch up reasonably recently towards the end of April, and people can look below in the link, look for a link below, and that'll take you to an area where we discussed in great detail the kind of corporate structure, all the moving parts, all the people involved. It's complicated. You've been at it 12 years, but I don't want to go through that again because you explained it quite well then. I want to focus on what have you done since the last time we spoke, because, as you say, you were talking about doing bulk sampling in Q3. And that's first off. And there was also financing being talked about. So can we talk about those two things first of all? So where are the bulk sampling?
So on the bulk sample, we're getting ready to start the ore sorter. There was a little bit of delay in the ore sorter because we needed a technical person out of the US, and given the COVID and all that, there was some delays. So we're going to get that started here in the next couple of weeks. And then on the back of that, we'll start shipping ore to the mill probably towards the end of the third quarter is the plan. The mill needed to get a permission from the government, which they expect to have by mid-September. So that's all lining up the way I talked about back at the end of April. In terms of the financing, we've raised some debt. We raised 1.6 million when we talked. We announced 2.5. We raised $1 million of debt. We expect to close the other $1.5 million this coming week, or not this week, early next week.
Give me that. See, when we spoke, you were talking about 1.6 from already invested partner, one of the Chinese partners, or a couple of the Chinese partners, as it turned out. This recent fund, does that include that 1.6, or is this in addition to?
This is in addition to.
Right. So that's a total of what?
That'll be 1.6 and 2.5, so that's about 4.1 if my math serves me correct.
Okay, so 4.1. Yeah. And how much cash is in the kitty at the moment once that goes through?
We've got a little over $1 million right now.
Right now, so plus that will give you somewhere near 5. Okay.
Yeah, not 5. No, we've spent some of that. Again, you have to remember our carrying cost, is about $400,000 a month, right? Just doing nothing. So it doesn't take much to go burn through that stuff. So the money that we've brought in, just to remind everybody, we're also building a vent raise for future production to go into full production. And at the same time, the money is to be used to get the ore sorter up and running and start working that through. So we had the sorter up and running a year ago, a little over a year ago, but because of the delays, we shut everything down, and we needed the X-ray started. And to get the X-ray, we needed the technician out of the US. And because of COVID, that got delayed a little bit. Otherwise, we would have had it up running a month ago, right? So, but they're going to be coming up and helping us get that up.
What's the scale of the bulk sampling project that you're doing?
It's a up to 30,000 ton bulk sample, and currently we have about 28,000 tons of mixed development ore on surface, which we'll sort. It's about 2.5 grams. Our deposit is about an average 5 gram, and we stop mining at the stope. So the plan is to sort the mixed development ore, get that over to the mill, and at the same time, then we'll start the underground development and pull out the stope ore and process that as well.
So how much have you done since we spoke to you? Is this doubling of market cap just by dint of the market's gone nuts, or have you actually done anything that contributed towards that?
I think it's, and I think we're seeing a lot of that. I mean, we've had a lot of different groups knock on our door recently, more than I've seen in the last 12 years I've been here, right? Like, quite a big interest. We talked about, we have to restructure the balance sheet or, fix that up, and we're working towards that right now. There's been some work over the last few weeks. And so there's a lot of interesting things that are going to happen, I believe, above and beyond the bulk sample that I think will be, well received by the market, let's say, as we go forward. And it'll make things a lot easier for everybody in general.
Okay, that's a bit intriguing. What sort of options? What are we talking about? What are the possibilities?
Well, I mean, some of it may be looked at, converting the debt. That's one of the things, because if you recall, when we talked back in April, part of it trying to raise the money, the balance sheet is bad because you've got all this debt. And people are worried that, well, you're just going to go service the debt. You're not going to take care of this. The shareholders like what we're doing. They like where we're at. The lenders like where we're at, what we're doing. And we said, look, you've got to convert. They said, we'll convert if you can raise money. So again, it's bringing a couple different pieces together. We've got them committed to convert the debt, and there's groups looking at, making some investments into Gowest as well. So, subject to them doing that. So again, there's a number of pieces that are coming together. We talked about, you mentioned, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? They're all easier said than done. You've got to park your egos. And the problem is a lot of people got egos and everybody's trying, but now people realize, like, if you want this thing to move and generate cash flow, everybody's got to put their pencils down and play together in the sandbox. And that's what I've seen happen over the last few weeks. Okay. Which is positive, especially with the price of gold where it's going.
Well, absolutely. Can you just remind me, because you described yourself as a near-term option, that's why people are sniffing around here. So What do you mean by that, and what are you going to do about making sure that you are near-term?
So as I mentioned a minute ago, talking about the converting the debt, cleaning up the balance sheet, bringing the money to take you to the next step. We've completed over 2 kilometers underground development. We're at the stopes at surface. Again, we're only down 30 to 60 meter level. Our deposit goes down 500 meters. We expect to have the production permits, so the permits we have right now are for bulk sample, pre-production permits, but we're going to have our production permits here probably within the next month and a half. And then we don't have to stop, right? So again, there's not very many in that position, right? And that's the opportunity that faces the.
Why are you so confident about the timing on these permits?
I'm confident because we've got support from the communities, the First Nation communities. the government in Ontario, mining is an essential business. So even though the government officials in Ontario have been working from home, they've actually been working really hard, and they've been, we've been working hard with them to make sure our closure plan is submitted. And there's been reviews going on, so that's all positive. So I'm extremely bullish on that, if I can be.
Okay, and so you're talking about getting into production. What sort of level are you talking about, and what does that ramp up look like if you're indeed able to do that?
Sure. So the bulk sample, we expect the bulk sample will take about 3 to 4 months. Then we're going to get into pre-production. The pre-production in our current model, again, people would be looking at the PFS because that's all you have publicly. We've got lots of internal models that we've been building. We haven't gone public with them yet because we want to finish the bulk sample, then tie up the new resource and the financials into one new update because again, it's time and cost. And so the plan is the pre-production is about 6 months, and then we'd be into production. So within say 14 to 16 months after we start the bulk sample, we expect to be into full production. Again, if you look off the PFS, production is about 50,000 ounces per year. We expect to do more than that, just given what we know and where we're at.
Meaning what? What do you mean, what you know? Why can't you share with us what you know? Because the difference in 50 and a lot, we've heard talk of 100,000 ounces.
Yeah, no, I mean that's where we want to ramp up to. Again, we want to complete the bulk sample and tie up the whole, put the whole package out together instead of trying to piecemeal it, right? And again, we want to demonstrate it with actual numbers, right? As opposed to, well, we think we've gone 2 kilometers of development. We haven't put any bulk sample through, and we think we can do that. People are like, what are you talking about? Let's come back and say, is it actually 70, or is it 80, or is it 90, or is it 100? And let's do that. Let's do it right and get the right numbers in place.
So bulk sample, is that all you've got money to do? Will you be doing any drilling, or is there any other meaningful work?
The funding that we're out contemplating will see us through production and look at developing some of those other zones that are outside of the Bradshaw that we believe we can bring into a resource and even augment what we have today.
How are your Chinese partners feeling about doing business with a North American company at the moment?
They with us, I mean, they've been very good. Again, they're putting a little more money in. I think they don't have. They haven't said anything negative, and they keep supporting the project as we go. And they're open to us raising capital in North America. And I think the reason behind that is probably because they're having. I think it's not that easy getting money out of China into North America as it was. Like it goes in ebbs and flows out of China, right? From what I can see over the last few years dealing with them, and so yeah.
Okay, and so it sounds like to me you may be trying to raise money to do additional work over and above the testing. Is that what you're hoping to do?
Yeah, no. So we're going to do the bulk sample, and it's to see us through production and try to find that key strategic partner along with the Chinese to ramp this right through. And they'd really like to see somebody in North America be part of this, and I think it gives them confidence, and I think it'll share the risk between a North American investor and
okay, like given the market, is that what we should be expecting next? That you found yourself that partner?
I believe so. That's what I'm aiming for, and that's what I've been working on. So that's my focus. I've got the technical people worrying about the technical stuff. I got to take care of the balance sheet and the money.
Okay, so you think you've done your side of the business. What other technical holdups could there be to this? Besides the bulk sampling component, what else is holding you back?
It's just it's really nothing. It's just that, for the mill to get their permit or their permission to process, which they've told me by mid-September they should have that, and then we can start processing. I think it's really getting the various groups together and closing what we're setting out to do.
Okay.
But that's how I see it right now.
Nice and simple.
Technical, who knows? Something can always come up. When it comes up, then we'll deal with it. But at this point, there's nothing that keeps me up at night except trying to get all this put together.
Okay. And what sort of number do you think you're going to need for a partner to be able to bring in for you to take this project forward as you've been trying to for the last several years?
We think, a conservative number is probably between $20 and $30 million to take it through and also start developing some of those other resources. That's really where we want to head. Again, there's interesting things going on right now, and I'm looking forward to be on the next segment in a few months' time, giving you the update.
Okay, well, no, we'd appreciate that. Always appreciate a phone call. And what's your take on? Obviously, the gold market is going nuts. So, the price broke 2,000. I think even for that hasn't been anything like it since 2011 and 2000. Really, inflation adjusted numbers. But what happens in November if Trump doesn't win? What's that going to do for you?
What's that going to do for us? I think things are going to stay the same. I think you're still going to see the price of gold is still going to be high. Where's it going to be? I can't predict where the price of gold is going to be, but I think it's going to stay well above what we put out in our PFS, which was $1,200 US, 80-cent exchange rate. I mean, when we talked, it was 2,000 Canadian. Now we're almost 2,700 Canadian. So, I mean, it's not rocket science just to put some numbers to that, right? But again, as I said earlier, I want to come back when we've completed the bulk sample, update the resource, and give you all that information and tie in these updated gold prices, and just send it home, right? And that's really I've been trying to do this for a couple of years now. We've had some delays, and we go back and look at the April reasons why, but I can't look back. I can only look forward.
Do you think, in terms of, you've got refractory gold down there, and we've talked about that again in great detail in the last interview. And you told me that you guys think you've kind of cracked that. You don't think that that's going to be a problem going forward. Are you still very sure of that?
Yeah, no, all the test work that was done, it shows a great flotation, good recoveries. And again, as I talked about back in April, there's a lot of refractory gold in the Timmins in northwestern Quebec camp, right? And a lot of the different companies are looking at it, including Cisco's got some, Newmont, which is the old Gold Corp, and Timmins has it, Pan American, which is the old Lake. There's refractory gold all over the camp. Again, they've all been focused on the low-hanging fruit. Unfortunately, our low-hanging fruit's not as low as theirs, and we had a little more work to do. But we're demonstrating that it's possible, and it's going to be a matter of time before. It's not if it's going to happen; it's just time that they're all going to jump in, and you're going to see more and more refractory gold being processed up in this part of the world. We just happen to be one of the first ones, at least with the entire deposit is refractory. Some of them had refractory, non-refractory. They would avoid it. In our case, I can't avoid it. It's staring me in the face, right? So that's been double challenge, right? And I always ask others that I believe that are smarter than me and have been around and who've run gold companies, what have I done wrong? They say, you haven't done anything wrong. You've had the hiccups. It is what it is. You got to move on, right?
Okay, so when you've done this bulk sampling, what does success look like? What do you need that data to tell you to go, this has been successful?
I think the success will be that the recovery rates are what we predicted.
Which is?
That like 98% recovery after the smelter. So all in, including processing, 93 to 94% type recovery. When I said 98, I was thinking about just the concentrate part of it, but about 93, 94% recovery. Showing that the head grades are within range of what we had predicted in our models, and to show the upsides as we proceed down the road. So those are the two keys that So when we do the reconciliation, we can see that it all adds up.
Okay, so if you don't hit those numbers, that's a failure?
No, it's not a failure. I tell you why it's not a failure, because Lakeshore Gold about 10 years ago, they were working through their bulk sample, and it was supposed to be 5, and it was 2.5, and they, Tony was running it at the time, and make some changes. I mean, nothing is ever going to be the same all the time, and things are going to change. And one of the fellows that's now helping us, he was most recently he was a general manager of a mine in Africa, but he was the chief geologist for Freeport in Indonesia, and he said things change all the time, right? But you got to just know what you're doing and how to react. And again, my belief is surrounding myself with the sharpest and brightest people, and I like to look at things not it's it's half empty, but it's half full, right? And how do we fill it up if there's any problems?
Okay.
We're going to run into problems. I can't sit here and say there will be no problems. I'd be a liar.
Okay, so you've got a bit of wiggle room there. Okay, well, look, Greg, thanks very much for the update. Appreciate the call. Pick up the phone, let us know when you move through those next couple of phases. I'd be intrigued to sort of see how you crack those problems. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Matthew.